A massive gym bro mocked me for lifting 5-pound dumbbells on January 1st, calling me a resolutionary who was wasting space in the squat rack. He told me to go back to Planet Fitness and leave the real iron to the men. 10 minutes later, I was the one scraping his dignity off the rubber floor while he screamed for his mother. The smell of a commercial gym on January 1st is a very specific, almost aggressive sensory experience. It is a cocktail of fresh manufacturing rubber from brand new sneakers that have never touched pavement, the sharp, acrid tang of nervous sweat, and the overwhelming, suffocating scent of hope mixed with impending failure. It is the day the resolutioners descend upon the iron temples of the world, armed with matching Gymshark sets, gallon water jugs they bought on Amazon, and a vague, terrifyingly inaccurate understanding of how a lat pull-down machine works. For the regulars, the lifters who have calluses on their hands thick enough to strike a match on, today is D-Day. It is the day you have to wait 20 minutes for a bench press because someone is using it to rest their iPad while they watch TikToks. It is the day the water fountain line stretches into the cardio theater. It is the day patience goes to die, and the unspoken etiquette of the gym, wipe your machine, re-rack your weights, don't curl in the squat rack, is obliterated by a tidal wave of enthusiasm and ignorance. I walked into Iron City Fitness at 6 a.m. sharp. I pulled my cap down low over my eyes and adjusted my oversized hoodie, trying to make myself as small as physically possible. I wasn't there to socialize. I wasn't there to post a new year, new me selfie with a flexed bicep. I was there because my left leg had finally, after 8 months of agonizing, tear-filled physical therapy, learned how to bear weight without trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. To the untrained eye, I looked like the textbook definition of a resolutioner. I was moving slowly, with a limp I tried desperately to hide. I was looking at a notebook after every set, checking off boxes with a trembling hand. I was using the 5-pound dumbbells, the pink ones, the ones coated in neoprene that the serious lifters scoff at and kick under the rack. I was doing weird, small movements that didn't look like exercise at all to the uninitiated. What the untrained eye didn't see was the 6-inch scar running down my spine, a jagged road map of the worst night of my life. They didn't see the titanium rod that was currently holding my femur together, a piece of metal that ached whenever the barometric pressure dropped. And they certainly didn't see the doctorate in physical therapy hanging on the wall of my office 3 miles away, or the state championship powerlifting trophy sitting on my mantle from 2 years ago. The year before the drunk driver T-boned my sedan at an intersection and turned my skeletal structure into a jigsaw puzzle. I was rebuilding myself from zero. It was humiliating. It was painful. It required a level of focus that I could barely maintain in the chaos of the New Year's rush. Every step was a negotiation with my own nervous system. Every movement was a test of trust between my brain and a body that had betrayed me. I found a small corner near the squat racks. I wasn't taking up a rack. I knew better than that, and I respected the Iron Church too much to commit that sin. But I needed the mirror. I needed to check my pelvic alignment during my single-leg balances because if my hip dropped even an inch, I risked straining the psoas and setting my recovery back 3 weeks. I set down my water bottle, my battered notebook, and my pathetic little 5-pound weights. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, inhaling the smell of chalk and ozone, and began my exercises. Engage the core, neutral spine, hinge at the hip, do not let the knee collapse inward. I was in the zone, sweating not from exertion, but from the sheer mental effort of making my muscles fire in the correct sequence. I was staring at my own reflection, willing my glute medius to wake up, when a shadow fell over me. It wasn't just a shadow, it was an eclipse. It blocked out the overhead fluorescent lights and the view of my own struggle. I opened my eyes and saw a wall of synthetic fabric. I looked up, and up. Standing over me was the archetype of everything wrong with modern gym culture. He was a mountain of a man, likely 64, wearing a stringer tank top that was fighting a losing battle against his lats. He had neon green shorts that were too short and a lifting belt that he was wearing incorrectly. It was sitting high on his ribs, not bracing his core. He was holding a shaker cup filled with sludge-colored liquid like it was a weapon. Let's call him Brad. "Excuse me," Brad said. He didn't say it like a question. He said it like a command. It was the voice of a man who has never been told no in his entire life. I stopped my movement, put my foot down, and stabilized myself. "Can I help you?" "Yeah," Brad said, looking around theatrically as if performing for an audience. He gestured with his shaker cup, splashing a little bit of the sludge onto the floor. "You're in the heavy lifting zone." I looked down at the floor. I'm on the mats near the mirrors. I'm not in a rack. I'm not blocking the dumbbell path. "You're in my peripheral," Brad sneered. He gestured to the squat rack 3 feet away, which was currently loaded with an ungodly amount of weight. "I'm about to pull 4 plates. I need space to get in the zone. You doing whatever that is." He gestured vaguely at my 5-pound weights with a look of utter disgust. "Is distracting. It's throwing off my vibe." "I'll be done in 10 minutes, I said calmly, fighting the urge to explain myself. I didn't owe him my medical history. "I'm doing rehab exercises. I need the mirror for alignment." Brad laughed. It was a loud, barking sound that drew the attention of the 3 other guys standing near the dumbbell rack, his hype squad, no doubt. "Rehab? You look like you're trying to swat a fly in slow motion. Look, sweetheart, I know it's January 1st. I know you got a new outfit and you want to tone up for spring break or whatever, but this area is for serious training. The cardio machines are upstairs. The yoga studio is down the street. Why don't you take your little pink weights and go play somewhere else where the big boys won't step on you?" My blood ran cold. The old me, the me before the accident, the me who could deadlift 350 pounds and squat 300 for reps, would have eaten this guy alive. I would have challenged him to a liftoff. I would have corrected his posture with a sharp comment and a glare. But the current me felt fragile. I felt small. I felt like the patient, not the doctor. "I pay the same membership fee you do," I said, my voice steady but quiet. "I have a right to use the floor space. I am not moving." "You're a tourist," Brad spat, stepping closer. He was trying to intimidate me physically, invading my personal bubble. I could smell the stale pre-workout and the aggressive cologne. "You're a January tourist. You'll be gone in 2 weeks when you realize getting a nice ass actually takes work. Meanwhile, some of us live here. Move." He kicked my water bottle. He didn't kick it hard, but he nudged it with his foot, sliding it 5 feet away from me across the gym floor. It was a violation. It was a deliberate act of aggression designed to make me feel powerless. I watched the bottle spin. I looked at the dented metal. I picked up my notebook. I looked him in the eye, tilting my head back to meet his gaze. "My name is Sarah. I'm recovering from a spinal fusion. If I move to the cardio machines, the impact could refracture my femur. I am staying right here." "Spinal fusion," Brad mocked, making a crying face and rubbing his eyes with his fists. "Boo-hoo. If your back is broken, stay in bed. Don't come here and clog up the floor. I'm counting to 3. If you aren't gone, I'm going to start my set, and if I drop 400 pounds on your toe because you're in my way, that's on you." 1, he counted. I didn't move. I engaged my core. I planted my feet. 2. He grabbed the barbell from the rack and slammed it onto the safety pins, making a deafening crash of metal on metal that silenced the entire free weight section. The gym went silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioner and the distant thud of a treadmill runner upstairs. Everyone was looking at us. The staff member at the front desk, a teenager named Jason who spent 90% of his shift on Instagram, looked up but didn't move. He looked terrified of Brad. He wasn't going to help me. I was on my own. Brad was grinning. He thought he had won. He thought the noise and the display of alpha dominance would send me scurrying away in tears to the elliptical machines. Instead, I sat down on the bench he had just vacated to tie my shoe. "You know," I said, my voice projecting clearly in the quiet room, "I'm watching your setup. Your belt is too high. You're compressing your diaphragm, which means you can't create proper intra-abdominal pressure. And judging by the way you're standing, your posterior chain is tighter than a drum. You have 0 glute activation." Brad blinked. His friends by the dumbbell rack snickered. One of them covered his mouth. "What did you say to me?" Brad hissed, turning around slowly. "I said your form is garbage," I replied casually, opening my water bottle, which I had walked over to retrieve. "You're ego lifting. You have 4 plates on there, that's 405 pounds. Based on your trap development and the fact that you're wearing running shoes to deadlift, which creates an unstable base, by the way, you don't have the strength for that lift. You're going to use your lower back to compensate for your weak hamstrings." Brad's face turned a shade of purple I had only seen on bruised fruit. The veins in his neck bulged. I didn't ask for advice from a cripple playing with Barbie weights. "It's not advice," I said. "It's a medical prognosis. If you pull that weight with your current stance, you are going to herniate a disc. Specifically, likely the L4, L5. I see it happen about twice a month in my clinic." "Your clinic," he scoffed. "I'm a physical therapist," I said. "Dr. Sarah Miller. And before the car accident that shattered my leg, I deadlifted 425. Raw, no straps." The friends by the dumbbell rack actually oohed. One of them whispered, "She cooked you, bro." Brad looked around. His ego was cornered. He couldn't back down now. If he walked away, he lost. If he lowered the weight, he lost. The only way he could save face was to pull the weight and prove the little girl wrong. He had to lift it. He had trapped himself in a prison of his own toxic masculinity. "Shut up," he growled. "Just shut up and watch." He turned to the bar. He chalked his hands, clapping them together and creating a cloud of white dust that settled on my black leggings. He approached the bar with the aggression of a bull seeing red. He grabbed the knurling. He didn't set his feet properly. He didn't pull the slack out of the bar. He didn't brace his core. He just ripped. "Yeah, lightweight," one of his friends yelled, though he sounded unsure now. Brad grunted. The bar broke the floor. It bent under the weight. His face contorted into a mask of pure strain. I watched with the detached, analytical eye of a professional. I saw it happening in slow motion. His knees locked out too early. His hips shot up. The bar drifted away from his shins, increasing the moment arm. The entire load of 405 pounds transferred instantly from his legs to his lumbar spine. His back rounded. It looked like a fishing rod bending under a marlin. It was the textbook definition of a catastrophic lift. "Drop it," I shouted, instinctively standing up, my own pain forgotten. "Brad, drop it, your spine." He didn't drop it. He ground it out. He hitched the bar up his thighs. He was shaking violently. He leaned back at the top, hyperextending his spine to lock it out, trying to force the rep to count. "Boom!" he screamed, his voice strained and ragged. And then the sound happened. It wasn't a metallic clank. It wasn't the plates hitting the floor. It was a wet, organic pop, like a tree branch snapping inside a bag of wet meat. It was a sound you feel in your teeth. Brad's eyes went wide. The scream of victory died in his throat, replaced by a gasp of pure, unparalleled shock. He dropped the bar. It crashed to the floor, shaking the building and sending vibrations through the soles of my shoes. Brad didn't bow. He didn't high-five his friends. He crumpled. He went down like a puppet whose strings had been cut. He hit the floor hard, curling instantly into the fetal position, clutching his lower back. Then came the screaming. It wasn't a manly scream. It wasn't a grunt of pain. It was a high-pitched, primal keen of agony. "My back! Oh God, my back! I can't feel my legs! Help me, Mom!" The gym froze again. This time, nobody was laughing. The silence was heavy, suffocating. His friends rushed over, but they stopped 3 feet away, terrified to touch him. They looked at him like he was a bomb that had just gone off. "Get up, bro," one of them said nervously, his voice cracking. "Walk it off, you're good." "I can't move," Brad shrieked. Snot was running out of his nose. He was crying, full-blown sobbing. "It burns, it feels like fire, make it stop." Jason, the front desk kid, was dialing 911, his hands shaking so hard he dropped the phone once before picking it up. Brad's friends were useless. They were just gym bros. They knew how to spot a bench press, not how to triage a spinal injury. One of them reached down to grab Brad's arm to pull him up, thinking getting him vertical would solve the problem. "Don't touch him," I barked, the command voice. The voice I used when a patient was about to fall. It cut through the panic like a knife. I walked into the heavy lifting zone. I walked right past the 405-pound bar that was still rolling slightly on the mats. I knelt down beside Brad, ignoring the pain in my own knee. He looked up at me. His face was gray. His pupils were blown wide with pain and panic. He recognized me. The January tourist. The girl with the pink weights. The woman he had just tried to bully. "Please," he whimpered, grabbing my wrist with a clammy hand. "Please help me. Am I paralyzed? I can't feel my feet." "Stop moving," I said calmly. "Brad, look at me. Look at my eyes. Don't try to sit up. You heard a pop." "Yes," he sobbed. Right in the middle, it sounded like a gunshot. "Okay, can you wiggle your big toe on your left foot? Concentrate." He focused, his face scrunched up in effort. "Yes, I think so. It tingles like pins and needles." "Good. That means the cord likely isn't severed, but you have severe nerve impingement. You definitely blew a disc, probably L4. It's pressing on the sciatic nerve. That's the burning. It's called radiculopathy." I looked up at his friends, who were standing there gaping like fish out of water. "You, green shirt, go get 2 bags of ice from the smoothie bar. Now, run." He ran. "You," I pointed to the other one, the one who had snickered earlier. "Go outside and flag down the ambulance when it comes. Do not let them get lost in the parking lot. Go." He ran. I turned back to Brad. He was clutching my hand. He was squeezing it so hard my own rings were digging into my skin. This man who, 5 minutes ago, had kicked my water bottle and called me a waste of space, was now holding on to me like I was his mother. "It hurts so bad," he whispered, tears mixing with the sweat on his face. I'm sorry I was a dick. Please don't let me be paralyzed. I play football on weekends. I can't be in a chair." "You aren't paralyzed, Brad," I said, my voice softening just a fraction, professional compassion. I hated him, but I was a doctor first. "But you are going to be in a world of hurt for a long time. You're going to need surgery. You're going to need rehab. You're going to be learning how to walk again, just like I did." The friend returned with the ice. I took the bags and arranged them carefully around his lower back to reduce the inflammation immediately. I checked his vitals. His pulse was thready and fast. He was going into shock. "Breathe," I instructed, placing a hand on his chest. "In through the nose, out through the mouth. If you panic, the muscles spasm tighter. You have to relax. Look at the ceiling tile. Count the dots." I sat there with him on the rubber floor for 12 minutes. I talked him through the pain. I kept him from moving. I wiped the sweat off his forehead with my own gym towel. The entire gym was watching. The resolutioners, the regulars, the staff, they formed a circle around us. They watched the weak girl save the strong man. They watched the hierarchy of the gym dissolve into the reality of human frailty. When the paramedics arrived, they rushed in with the backboard and the C-collar. One of them recognized me. He had transported one of my patients before. "Hey, Dr. Miller," he said. "What have we got?" "Acute lumbar trauma," I said, standing up and brushing the chalk off my knees. "Likely disc herniation at L4, L5. Neuro symptoms in the left leg. Bilateral tingling. He needs an MRI stat and neurosurgery consult." "Copy that," the paramedic said. "Good catch." They loaded Brad onto the board. He screamed when they moved him, a raw, jagged sound that made everyone in the room wince. As they wheeled him out, strapped down and immobile, he turned his head to look at me one last time. "Thank you," he mouthed. He looked small. He looked broken. He looked like a man who finally understood that strength isn't about how much you can lift, but how much you can endure. After the ambulance doors closed, the gym was quiet. The energy had shifted. I walked back to my corner. My water bottle was still where he had kicked it, lying near the wall. I walked over and picked it up. "Are you okay?" Jason, the front desk guy, asked. He was standing there with a mop, ready to clean up the chalk and the sweat where Brad had fallen. "I'm fine," I said. "Just another day at the office." "That was amazing," he said. "He's been bullying people for months. Nobody stood up to him. Management was afraid to ban him because he brings in so many other members." "Gravity stood up to him," I said. I just managed the fallout. I looked at the clock. 7 a.m. I still had 10 minutes of rehab left before I had to get ready for work. I picked up my 5-pound pink dumbbells. I stood on one leg. I engaged my core. I focused on my form. Around me, the gym slowly came back to life. But I noticed something. The guys in the free weight section were lifting a little lighter. They were checking their form in the mirrors. They were taking plates off the bar. And when a new girl walked in, looking nervous and lost, clutching her own set of light weights, nobody rolled their eyes. One of the regulars actually moved his bag to give her more space. Brad wouldn't be back for a long time. Recovery from spinal surgery takes months. And when he does come back, if he comes back, he's going to need a physical therapist. He's going to need someone to teach him how to walk, how to move, how to lift without ego. He better hope my schedule is full. I finished my set, packed my bag, and walked out into the cold January air. My leg was sore, but it held me up. I was broken, yes, but I was strong in the places that mattered. And I didn't need to lift 400 pounds to prove it.
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.